Alrighty, we got Death of a Unicorn. At the time of recording this, I just saw that today, so it's a little bit freshly burned into my brain, so let's hope I can stumble through this review here. You know the drill if you've been here, and if you don't, well, spoiler alert, because I like to do pretty much a full synopsis of the film. So you're going to be hearing about what happens, the events, the ending, etc., blah, 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 blah. So you have been warned. So we have this gentleman, played by Paul Rudd, and his daughter, played by Jenna Ortega, going on a little road trip into Canada. Driving into the mountains of, I believe, Alberta. The rental car has an Alberta license plate, so yay, Canada representation. But yeah, it looks like, if it's not like Banff or Jasper, or it's like Yoho or the Kootenays or something like that. Anyway, it's very pretty. It's in the mountains, one way or another. So he's essentially going on this trip to the home of his, I guess, the owner of the company and whatnot. I believe they said he's like a VP of relations or something like that. I can't quite remember his position, but he's essentially going there to be sort of looked at as a potential, maybe a partner or a higher position or whatever you have to. And they want to get to know him kind of personally, and they've invited his daughter along too. Now, he had recently lost his wife and aka Jenna's daughter to cancer. Now, I know it's usually a Disney trope, but this is not Disney, it's A24. So they're stealing some of Disney's thunder with the dead mom thing. But anyway, that's the backstory there. So that's unfortunate. Driving through this wilderness, and his phone isn't getting very good signal, so it's kind of sketching out, cutting in and out while he's trying to talk to the his boss or whatever. They're late due to some reason that I don't actually remember what it was, but they're coming. Anyway, he's trying to connect with his daughter and whatnot in his own little Paul Rudd kind of way, and she's not like outright rejecting him, but she's kind of like not one for sappiness in, a Jenna Ortega kind of way. So, I mean, if the characters were written like this, they must have been written for those two in mind, or either that or it was just good casting. But that aside, they're on their way up and they're having a little chat, and he's trying to get on his phone and whatnot, and he's not watching the road, and boom, hits an animal. Oh shit. Stops the car, looks back, gets out. Thing's still alive. So he's like, okay, I can't leave it on the road. Like, we can't let it suffer. I have to put it out of its misery. Upon approaching it, you notice that the blood is purple. Interesting. And shows basically their faces gawking at it like, what the hell? Yeah, it's a unicorn. I mean, the name of the movie kind of gives that away, but it's a fun little reveal. It's unicorny enough. Like, so the thing about unicorns in mythology is there are several different ways they've been depicted from what I've read. Not all of them are just a majestic horse with a horn. In most cases, they are like incredibly horse-like, but they're not like a horse with a horn all the time. A lot of times they are too. But I think they're going for that kind of an angle too, where they're like horse-like, but not related directly genetically to horses or whatever. So they got the hooves, they got the similar shaped head, but they have like predatory kind of teeth, which is interesting. And the horn, obviously. The design in general, I'll just get into this now. The design of the unicorns is, I kind of like it and I kind of don't like it. There are certain scenes where it looks pretty good, and there are certain scenes where it looks kind of weird. But weird in an off-putting kind of way, so I guess that's what they're going for, right? So you got a horror movie about a unicorn, right? So anyway, nonetheless, I don't remember all the characters' names, so I'm just going to go by the actors' names if I know the actors. But I know Jenna's character is named Ridley, because that's an interesting name, and that stuck in my head. I don't recall what Paul Rudd's character's name is, so I apologize for that. But anyway, so Ridley kneels down to the unicorn, and it's like suffering, and she's feeling bad for it, and its horn starts like kind of glowing and whatnot, and she touches it and is like transcended into I don't know, another dimension of space-time, or maybe she's been hit enlightenment or something, because she's seeing all these psychedelic colors and like traveling through nebulas and strange shapes and all that stuff, and she's kind of locked in a trance. And it's quickly cut out to her snapping back to being on the road with like blood splattering little by little on her face as Paul Rudd is using a tire iron to finish the unicorn. So that's a good way to snap out of that. Anyway, for whatever reason, they stuff it in the back of the car and they drive to the house or whatever it is in the mountains. Their little cabin, or well, it's not little by any means. Sorry, they have like a gate and security and everything. Yeah, they enter and they meet with everyone, and they're kind of talking about potential future plans for the company. The owner is in rough shape. Like, he's on the verge of dying himself. So I guess he's looking towards like who's going to help his family run this business when he's gone. And I guess Paul Rudd is the character, or the person I should say, that seems to fit that position. So they're kind of, like I said, they're giving him kind of a test run, trying to get to know him and whatnot. Anyway, turns out the unicorn's not dead. So the car is shaking and whatnot, and some of the security people are like, what's going on there? And this whole time, by the way, Jenna's like not happy about it. Like, she feels that she connected with this unicorn and that it's not supposed to be with them, and they should like just like they shouldn't take it, obviously. Leave it where it is, you know, let nature take its course and whatnot. Anyway, so she's having this kind of crisis while the car starts moving. Security sees it. He's obviously, like, Paul Rudd is obviously not wanting to announce that they hit and killed a unicorn, right? So he doesn't tell them initially, but I mean, it becomes fairly obvious when the thing starts kicking the car and like smashing his head through the window and a horn through the friggin' the roof and whatnot. And one of the security people working for the sick gentleman ends up shooting it in the head with a gun, and that does it. It's officially dead there. So that's fun. Again, Jenna's not feeling great about this. She's like trying to make excuses to leave and whatnot, but Paul Rudd is like, listen, I'm doing this for our family, like a couple years on the board, and I'll have enough money to make sure that we don't have issues anymore. Like, it is kind of selfless, so good on him for trying to take care of his family. He's like, I promised her, like the wife, that he would take care of her no matter what it took to do so. So that's kind of his mindset. Anyway, Jenna's character has at the beginning of the film, you see she has like a little bit of acne on her cheeks and whatnot. She plays a young kid, so that makes sense. Make her look more like a normal kid, so, or not kid, I guess. Teenager, young adult, I don't know how old she is in this movie, but anyway, makes her look like a youngin' by doing that, which is a neat choice. But it turns out that this unicorn blood that splattered on her face ended up basically curing her acne. Now, at the same time that this is happening, Paul Rudd is looking over a contract, and he has to take his glasses off because it's looking blurry. He puts them on and it gets blurry, takes them off, and he can read again. So he's like, that's interesting. Turns out that this unicorn blood also basically fixed his vision. So they start putting two and two together, and they realize acne's gone, eyesight has returned. Holy shit, there might be something to this. So as scientists do kind of a deep dive, they do some biological studies of the unicorn blood and whatnot, and it turns out that it's biological, but it's not something that should exist in nature, biology, physics, whatever you want to call it. So it's like, it's not reproducible by any means at all. It's confirmed it does have healing properties. And the horn is actually connected to like an organ of some kind, which is like more intense than the blood or whatever. So they're going to do more tests on the horn and everything. They end up hooking up the old sick CEO boss guy to a little bit of unicorn blood drip. And lo and behold, a couple hours later or whatever, he's up and walking with his cane, and his son and wife are like, Dad? You know, like, holy shit. Because this guy had been bound to a wheelchair. He's had like oxygen tank with tubes up his nose. Can't even get out of bed essentially, and now he's walking around with a cane, which he just drops, and he's like completely fine. So confirmed, unicorns heal. They find out that it can actually cure cancer, because that's what this old dude had. They confirm that it's like in severe remission, and you know, they don't want to say flat out it's cured, but like it's pretty much cured. And there's that whole line from the preview, like, cancer, that's the big one, right? So yeah, that happens. So they decide, okay, well, at this point they realize that this isn't the only unicorn there is. So Jenna's been doing some research into like some tapestries on the history of the unicorn, and she's thinking like, listen, we just assumed they were mythological, but back in the day they thought they were real, and now we know that they're real. So maybe some of the things that they wrote about them in like old medieval texts and tapestries and what have you, there's probably some truth to it because they were around for it. So essentially that she digs up the history and finds out that these unicorns were both majestic and ferocious creatures who could be tamed by a maiden with a pure heart who would basically pacify it, and then it would be killed and resurrected and kept and bred and whatever. This whole big thing. And so obviously pharmaceutical company is like, okay, well, there's the solution to, you know, not having enough unicorn. One of the, I assume it's one of the unicorns who is the parent to the deceased baby one that they hit. Yeah, it's a baby one, by the way, so that's fun. These things are huge, by the way. So the baby one is like the size of a normal ass horse. The big ones are bigger. Duh, obviously. Okay. Anyway, one comes onto the property and does some damage, ends up killing one of the scientist, doctor, biologist people, whatever. Again, I apologize. I don't remember a lot of these characters' names, but he gets a horn right through the back, through his chest, so he's toast. They end up firing on this unicorn and kind of chasing it off, essentially. Several of the guards are taken out as well. So there are casualties, but this thing is gone. Right away, old guy, now feeling completely rejuvenated, no more cancer in his system, is like, alright, we gotta go hunt that thing. We riddled it with bullets. He's trying to pass it off as compassion. Like, we riddled it with bullets. It's gonna be dying and suffering in the woods anyway. We may as well go finish it off and add it to our collection of supply of unicorn blood and horns. So they kind of put together a ragtag team of people to go out and collect it. Now, obviously, Jenna at this point, Ridley, she's the one character I know the name, so I'm going to try to use her name. So Ridley at this point is trying to explain to them like what she's learned about like the history and whatnot of unicorns. And she has this big printer that prints out all these like poster-sized tapestries and shows that some of them were incomplete, but it has like copies of the full one or whatever. And like the ones that they're hanging in the museum are nice with a unicorn and in a little pen, but like the part that was damaged that she printed off shows it like disemboweling a person and putting the horn through the chest and everything, and it shows their sharp teeth and everything. It's like, okay, they don't care. I mean, they're the typical rich family wanting to get richer, kind of sort of quasi caring about the fact that they have a cure for cancer on their hands, but it's money, let's be real. So anyway, hunting expedition goes out. They encounter that other unicorn who is not as hurt as they thought it would be, and there are more of them. I believe there's 2, but they're going so fast it looks like there's like a bunch of them or whatever. Anyway, there's a cool scene where it's like pitch dark and you just see the horn and the eyes lighting up or whatever, and it I think it takes out 1 or 2 more people. It ends up killing the old CEO guy by like... So Jenna had told them about what happened when she touched the horn, how she kind of transcended. She's like connected to this creature in like a not terrible way. Like it's a genuine, like they were communicating or something as it was dying on the roadside and whatnot. And she's convinced that she saw basically what happens when you die. Like she felt her mom's presence or whatever, and just everything was peaceful. And it's like, yeah, once we're done living, we don't have to worry because I've seen where we go and all that. So it's like pretty intense shit for like a young lady to experience and whatnot. Anyway, so she's trying to explain to them like, you're gonna get killed and whatnot. And yeah, like I said, Buddy gets... Hearing the story, he thinks, okay, well, I can maybe connect to them in the same way. And he approaches it, and it lowers its head with its horn, and its horn's kind of glowing a little bit, and he's reaching out because he's like, I'm going to touch this horn and communicate with this thing. Probably with the intent of distracting it enough to kill it, I assume. Anyway, as he's slowly approaching the horn, all of a sudden you just see the horn go through his lower jaw, out his forehead, and then it pushes further and pushes further. And I'll be honest, like some of the... Well, we'll talk about the special effects later. Anyway, kills him. He's toast. And ends up chasing them back to the building or whatever. And they shut the gate in time and whatnot. And they're like, well... They have some kind of like EMP effect too that's like messing with the power grid. So their power's out, and the gate to escape is electric, so they can't open it right now. They're looking at, I think his name was Griff. He's one of the, I don't want to say servants, but he's one of the servants or security people or butlers or whatever you want to call it. And they say, listen, you know the maintenance stuff best, so you're going to go out to do it. And he's like, that's not good. And the son and daughter, the daughter, oh my god, I can't speak English. The wife and son of the rich people both be like, I vote Griff does it. And then Jenna's like, yeah, I vote Griff doesn't do it. And Griff's like, yeah, I also vote that. Thank you. Anyway, he does it. He fixes the gate. And the plan is essentially to return the baby, which is slowly starting to heal itself. Its horn has been removed and everything, but it's kind of recovering, I guess. These are immortal creatures, I suppose. Anyway, the plan is to give the baby back to the adults. Hopefully that will deal with that and they'll be on their merry way and whatnot. Doesn't work out so well. So the other doctor person, oh my god, I wish I knew these people's names, my bad. One of the doctors that was working with the one that got killed near the beginning or whatever is the one pushing the unicorn, and she's gonna try to like make peace, and she's got kind of a calm aura to her, but she also had stolen a little vial of ground up unicorn horn, which, for the record, by the way, the CEO's son this whole time has been snorting it like cocaine and smoking it out of a pipe, and I guess he's addicted to unicorn stuff, and he thinks that he's like connecting with it, and he's smarter than he's ever been, and he knows what's gonna happen and all that. Character's obnoxious as shit, by the way, just for the record. You'll see what I mean when you watch it. I don't remember the actor's name, but he was in that movie with Jennifer Aniston, and he's the son. Oh god, I don't remember what that was called either. But, like, Jennifer Aniston plays like the fake wife of this person so they could get away. I don't know. Anyway, he's in that. He's from the memes. Like, it doesn't matter. Anyway, he's an obnoxious character. Where the hell was I? So yeah, she pushes the body out, and Griff, or whatever his name is, opens the gate, and as the unicorns are approaching, he's like, okay, actually, you know what? Fuck this, and he just bolts. He's gone. He doesn't want to be a part of this massacre that's obviously going to be coming. And it does. She pushes the body towards these two towering unicorns. I think one's male, one's female, which is kind of cool. There are like subtle differences in like the shape of their head and body and everything. So that's kind of a neat thing to do. And it looks like they're going to be chill about it and say like, you know, okay, that's all we wanted was my kid here. But I guess they sense the ground up horn in her pocket. And long story short, they end up grabbing her and tossing her around and like ripping her in half. And she's screaming, and it's a good kill. It is a good kill. So the baby is on the stretcher still, and Jenna and Paul are like hiding behind the stretcher because these unicorns are sniffing them out. And the CEO's wife and son are in the house again, and everyone else is essentially dead. So this is what we got left here. It ends up going into the house after a like brief game of cat and mouse and whatnot, and stalking the son and wife. They end up, wife ends up getting killed. I mean, I don't want to spoil too much because it's so new that like, yeah, spoiler alert, but also go see it. So we'll leave it at that. She gets her comeuppance, and this kid thinks he knows what's gonna happen. He's like doing more rails of unicorn horn and all that crap. And it's revealed that the unicorn is hunting Paul and Jenna because Paul had stupidly taken the severed horn. And Jenna's like, what are you doing? Why would you do that? And he's like, I don't know, okay? And he does the whole spiel of like, I just needed to make sure we were okay and all that crap. And, you know, this is kind of security that we could still produce some kind of a thing, and still I could still take care of you. I'd have enough money to make sure that you had a good life, got school funding, all that stuff. And they have a little genuine heartfelt moment and whatnot, and they have a little huggy. Anyway, unicorn is not into it, so it's after them, obviously, because I guess maybe the baby can't heal fully unless the horn's reconnected or whatever. So it's day at this point, and it's chasing Paul Rudd, and Paul runs off, and basically Jenna and this stupid kid, the CEO's son or whatever, are having a little thing. And I guess she's a maiden pure of heart or something like that, because she ends up like calming one of these angry unicorns, and it like lays down beside her. And then the second one comes, and it is also calmed and lays down beside her, and they're like completely passive and tranquil, to the point of CEO's douchey son is able to like tie up their legs and everything and like prepare to do something. Anyway, it's okay. So the first unicorn comes, and they do that as pacified, and he ties up the legs. And then the next unicorn comes with Paul Rudd holding the horn, and kind of like it's following him toward the scene. So I don't know if he like somehow communicated and told him that like this guy's the douche or whatever. But anyway, maiden pure of heart ends up pacifying that one too, unfortunately. But it ain't over. There's a little skirmish as he's douchebag CEO's son ends up getting stabbed in the gut with a unicorn horn by Paul Rudd, because he's essentially like, I don't know, it's a whole thing. They have a little scuffle, and I guess Paul Rudd's come to his senses. Ends up unicorn horn shanking him, but this stupid kid ends up putting an arrow into Paul Rudd. So Paul Rudd's bleeding out real bad. This kid's bleeding out, but he knows, okay, if I get to the unicorn, we can, you know, I can heal myself. Well, that's a good plan and everything, but the unicorns are coming to now and getting out of the ropes. And just as he looks up, he's like, ah, fuck. And the unicorn, like, bucks and back hoofs him in the head, and this kid's dead. Goes flying back, blood. A very, very fitting end to this idiot kid. One of the male unicorn ends up dragging Paul Rudd's now deceased body to where her baby dead unicorn is, and the horn is there and everything, and they put their horns together, and this weird like black hole nebula thing starts happening with electricity, It's all very magical. Anyway, unicorn horn reattaches to the baby, and Paul Rudd seems to heal also, and he comes back to life, as does the baby. And he reaches out and touches the horn, and he has that vision that Jenna had when she touched the baby's horn way back at the beginning of the thing, and he sees all this stuff as well, and it's a wonderful little scene. And he tells Jenna, basically, I saw it as well, as the unicorns run off into the sunlight. At this point, Griff shows up with an RCMP officer, and the RCMP officer obviously sees the dead kid, blood all over the place, and Jenna and Paul are just like, fuck. Yeah, there's no way we look like murderers. This is it. So they're under arrest in the back of the car, and they're trying to explain it, and there's no point. Like, it's unicorns? Come on, give me a break. Anyway, they have a nice little father-daughter bonding moment, and yeah, he's like, I saw everything, and I get it, we're gonna be fine, etc. And all of a sudden, they see these unicorns trotting along the side of the road on like a cliffside, like slightly above the road. And the RCMP officer is kind of like, what the hell? And Griff, I guess I don't know why he betrayed them. I guess he's just a little shithead or whatever, but he's following in the cop car. They end up ramming Griff off the road. Sucks to suck, I guess. And the unicorn sort of does like an eye thing with Paul and Jenna, like, brace yourselves, because the same shit's happening. And they ram the car, and that's basically the end of the movie. And I guess they get rescued, and they live happily ever after with the unicorns or something. I don't know. Anyway, that's the end. So, I just realized I didn't stay to see if there was an end of credits scene. I don't imagine there would be, but maybe there was. I'll have to find out. Anyway, that's the movie. Let's talk a little bit about it. What did I think? So, let's talk about the acting first. For the most part, for the feel, like, it's a comedy horror, right? Like, the character's a little bit over the top. I feel like there were one or two instances where Paul Rudd was a bit too Paul Rudd, if that makes sense. Like, if they toned down his ruddiness just slightly, it would have been better. Jenna was fine. She was her typical character self, so it worked. The rich family was fine for what they were. The douchey kid did a really good job at being a douchey kid, so good on him. Yeah, no real complaints about that. Just, yeah, they could have toned down the ruddiness a little bit of Paul Rudd's character. Just slightly. Like I said, it doesn't ruin it, but there are like one or two lines that he had that are just like kind of, really, whatever. Anyway, I guess they were going out of their way to make him look like a Joe Everyman, but like slightly more feeble or something like that. But that's the only thing I'd change about the acting. So it's fine. I got no issues with there. The unicorn design, like I said, it's cool. It's cool enough. It's not like a, My Little Pony type unicorn, or like those, can't remember the name of the designer, but in the 90s you get these posters of like unicorns drawn, and they were like beautiful with rainbows and like hyper colors and stuff. It wasn't like that. They looked like animals, like things that could be potentially related to horses, but were not entirely of this world. So the design was good. I liked it. Each unicorn looked slightly different as well. I think it was the female looked a little bit more like a horse than the male, and the male looked a little bit more monstrous, and the bebe was a bebe, so it was cute. I guess a little bit, but kind of had those teeth too, so it was a little off-putting, but anyway, whatever. That's that. So the design was good. The gore, the deaths, I was actually pretty impressed. I didn't know what to expect for that kind of stuff, but I mean, I guess I should have expected there'd be some blood, but like the woman getting ripped in half was done good. It wasn't excessive gore either. It was like a good amount. The CEO's wife, she like gets disemboweled, and like it like rips her stomach open with its teeth, and like you see entrails, and when the horn goes through the CEO's head, you see it like poke through the skull and then poke through a little bit more, and you see the skull kind of fracturing as the larger part of the horn goes through it. Like that was done well. There's another scene where someone gets a horn and like some of their guts come out. That was cool. There's another scene where it literally steps on a guy's head and you see the guy's head go crunch, crunch, flip. So that was good. So yeah, the deaths were good. The gore was good. It wasn't over the top, stupid gory just to be gory. It was a welcome amount. I like the amount that there was in this film. Not to say that if it's over the top, it can't be fun too, but it was the perfect amount for this kind of film, I feel. So that was really good. What else? The filming location, gorgeous. Like I said, it's either in Alberta or BC or something like that, but it's absolutely stunning. So it was pleasant to look at the whole time. That was good. Yeah, I forgot to mention there's like a Northern Lights effect that represents like the unicorns heading closer, and it's like a purple and green kind of Northern Lights thing. That was really cool. I liked that as well. The story itself was okay. It was all right. I mean, it's a typical greedy corporation and whatnot, but a little bit of a twist, you know, having a unicorn and whatnot. I don't know if this... I assume this has been thought of before. Like, I feel like I've read something, maybe a short story, that dealt with the same thing, but it was fine. What else can I talk about? Yeah, overall, I enjoyed the movie. I walked out of it thinking that was fun. It is one that I will likely check out again when it comes to streaming or whatever, because I did enjoy it. Was it a masterpiece? No. Was it bad? No. It was good. So let's get a rating out there. Let's say... Am I thinking 6s or 7s? So, I'm thinking low 7s, actually. It was enjoyable. For what it was what I wanted to see. So I'm going to give it a 7.24. There you go. 7, just shy of 7.25. Yeah, I don't really have much bad things to say about it, in all honesty, except for, yeah, a couple of those lines could have been, like, removed from Paul Rudd, and that's the only real thing that I had some issues with. Character development also was pretty solid for the most part for what it was. Like, it's, you know, a typical, you know, guy sees the error of his ways type thing and, like, reveals that he's doing it all for his kid. And, like, we've seen that 1,000 times, but it was fine. It was done okay enough. And, leaving the ending open-ended is fine, too. The ending was alright. The build-up was fine. Yeah, so that's my rating. Would I say 7.24? Is that what I said? Well, if I didn't say 7.24, it's officially a 7.24, and that's the final verdict. Should you go see it? Yeah, go see it. It's fun. Go see it in the theater even. It's entertaining. Surprisingly, the theater I went to was not packed at all, and considering it's only been out, like, I think at this point it's been out maybe a couple of days or something, which is I'm wondering if it's not going to do very well. So I'm interested to see how it does at the box office over the next week or so. But I enjoyed it, and I do recommend seeing it. Like I said, not a masterpiece, but for what it is, very fun and worth a watch. And that's all I got. Have a good one.